Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope everyone will be fine, and welcome back to another great tutorial. So in this video I'm going to explain you how you can enable and disable using the switch, right? So here we have a switch here, and with the listing, and down we can also paginate the data. So if you could see, if I just try to slide my button and there's a message appeared in 3 seconds it disappeared. So we have a notification down here, and it will tell that the status is updated successfully without page refreshing, right? So if I just try to refresh my page, and the status is hold me which we have changed it and update the status. So just after, if I go to the page number 2, and if I try to also change its status, so it me the to the updated status. So that's what we are going to create, and I hope you really like this video, and let's jump in and start the code. All right, guys, so I have installed my Laravel project. By you need to just simply type here composer, and you can create the project by just running this command, right? So in a lot of videos I already explained how to install the Laravel fresh project. So we have an open directory here, and I have my git bash installed, so I just simply need to open up on my VS Code. So I have my very fresh copy of my code already installed, and now you need to move inside your .env, and just because we are working on the active deactive, so just set that to be, change the database name to be active_deactive. All right. Okay, so now we are inside our .env. Just close that up and just open up the terminal by you can open up with the view and the terminal to open up your terminal, right? So, or you can open up with the shortcut that it provides with the control and the tilde, which is left to the number 1, right? So you can open up your terminal from that. So first thing I'm going to do here, inside my resources view, I have to create a new folder with the name of layout. That's what actually I do. That's my style of doing things in a very good way. So let's create a file with the name of master.blade.php, and I need to create a master file here first. So I need to close that terminal for a while and set that to be active_deactive using toggle button. So as I explained that in my previous 2 videos, I had done the same thing. I have a video on the unblock and the block, and I have a video on the active deactive with 2 different ways. And if you can find interested, they are 1-hour videos. So you can watch that video too in order to understand how to toggle using buttons. So I have both 2 videos on my channel, right? So you can easily watch. The next thing I need to do is to go up on my Bootstrap. So let's open up my bootstrap.com, and I already have opened up the Bootstrap Toggle button documentation. So you need to go to the bootstraptoggle.com, and I want to put this link in the description as well. So let's go into your Get Bootstrap, which is a very famous and popular framework for CSS. So let's copy that, the CDN for the Bootstrap 4. I copy that, and let's put up just after the title, right? Okay, now I need to do is to just need to do some little bit more stuff. So just after the Bootstrap URL, let's give it the custom styling, because I need some custom styling here. So let's give it here the href and pass here the acid, and let's inside acid I have I want to give it the folder CSS, and let's give it the name of style.css, or even I just bring up another folder with the name of assets. So go inside your public and create a folder with the name of assets, and inside that I'm going to create a file with the name of style.css. all right. And next after that, I want to create some notification divs. So just like just after the body tag, I'm going to create an ID with the name of notif, N-O-T-I-F, and give it div, right? So this is basically my ID for the notification. So just grab that and paste it here, and let's write some CSS. So I'm going to grab from my CSS, which I already write. So you can put up here like that. So let's give it the z index of 1000. I want that it should be display none by default, and the color should be green. By default the color should be green, and the font weight 450, width of 350. It's just like a normal div. So basically I'm creating this for notification while I change my status, so this is going to show me the notification div, right? And the color of the text should be white, and the padding should be 5 pixel top right. Okay, so so what I'm going to do here, just after the notification div, let's put up here the yield content. So I'm going to add my content here. So let's grab that here, and just after that you need to grab the jQuery. So let's go into your code.jquery.com, and you can grab the jQuery 3.x, go to the uncompressed version and grab and just simply paste down after the yield content, right? Okay, so what actually copied? Oh, oops, I actually right, so just grab the script tag and paste it here, and that's fine. Okay, so now after the div notification, I need to do a little more stuff for the Bootstrap Toggle. So for the Bootstrap Toggle, you need to go visit this website and grab the CSS for this. So I'm going to grab the CSS and paste it just after the Bootstrap CDN, and just place it right after there. Okay, and same for the JavaScript, you need to grab this and paste it down after the jQuery. All right, so we are good with that. Now, next thing I'm going to do here is to just go to your welcome.blade.php and rename that to users.blade.php. All right, and after that, inside users.blade.php, I'm going to remove everything from here because we need to extend from the master file which we have just created. So let's extend that through. So extends, and give it the name of layouts.master, and inside there let's give it here the section of content and the section, and here right after here I'm going to create a container. Let's create a container and pass up here the message ID. Basically you can even pass up the ID, or okay, well, we can do it later on. We can pass the notification div, so we don't need any message. So let's create here a class for the table. So table class equal to table, and pass here table heading, and inside table heads I'm going to create some table rows, and table rows should be only some 3 IDs: email, name, and action. So I'm going to grab it and paste it here. Right now after that we have our table body, which I'm going to create here. So just after the table head, let's create here table body, and inside table body you have to create a table rows, and inside table rows I'm going to pass here a few things. So first thing I'm going to do here is to pass here table heading row, just to look appearance wise good. So th, and after that I'm going to create some table data. Let's give it the name of test for now, and let's pass up here the email, test@gmail.com, and let's give it the action. Now the action I need up here is a button, which I want to get it from the documentation. So let's visit the documentation here. So there are a bunch of properties that you could apply, and I believe that the button that I use here in my case is let me find out what I have used in my case. So there are a bunch of things you can apply any button, but I believe that what I use here, I have added some slow property which can animate for a while. So for now let's grab the basic one, right? Don't get too much don't take so much time for this. So let's grab the simple, like I just grabbed this one. So I grab that and paste it inside this table ID, right? And you need to grab the script tags as well. So let's grab the in script for this function. So I just put that inside your master file, or you can do one more stuff here if you need to do things a lot much better. So let's here add the stack. So add here a stack and add here scripts, make it the name of scripts, and push up here inside the file which we have just extended. So let's add here add and pass here push. Let's pass here scripts and the push. All right, so let's bring up here the script tags and copy the code, right? Okay, so we are good to go. Let's remove these both two scripts. Okay, so copy that and now just saves everything and test this out. So now I'm going to run the server using PHP artisan serve, and that's going to run my server, and let's have a look how it looks. So it says that view welcome not found. The reason why, because we haven't created. So what I'm going to do, I have my VS Code already, terminal open. So let's create here a controller. So PHP artisan make controller, give it the name of user controller. All right. So this is going to open up inside the app, HTTP controllers, go inside your user controller, create a function. So let's create a function with the name of public function index. And because we need to populate the data from the user model, so which is already defined, so I'm going to bring up here use app/user. So basically this is coming from the user.php, right? So we need to we don't need to change any migrations because I'm happy what I needed. So if I go to my database migrations, and you can see we have our users table right already, and with the defined fields, name and email already what I needed. But I need to do one more stuff here, right here. So I need to do here is I need to create some migration. So I have my let's do here is to create a seeder. So just want to explain you, if you haven't watched my previous video, I have a video on seeders, that how it works. So just to make things a bit quicker, so this is the factories where we have the data which has a name, which has a safe email, unique email we can generate and define here from the faker, and it consists of a password, which I believe is a password string, which is converted, and remember token, which has a string random of 10, right? So that's by default defined in the users factory. So I'm going to create here a seeder which should be inside seeds, which has a function with the name of run. So we have to create a seeder and then define here a loop, right? So go inside your so first define here a seeder, and the seeders are defined by PHP artisan make seeder, and the name of the seeder in my case is users table seeder, right? And just press enter, and this is going to create the seeders with the name of users table seeder. All right, so just inside your database seeder, we have to define here we just created here. So this call and the name of the seeder in my case, which is user, I believe this should be users table seeder colon class, which is defined in my database seeder. Now inside your users table seeder, you need to define here the loop of data that you need to generate. So here I'm going to create a loop here. Let's define here a loop with the initialize the variable with the 0 and bring that till to the let's create a 30 data. So I plus plus. All right, and inside here, let's define here a factory. So factory method, and inside here, I'm going to define here my user model, so app/user, and create that. So let's create the data, and my user is not defined. Let's define here use app/user. All right, so close that up, and let's create the database first. I believe I haven't created yet. So if I go up inside my routes, web.php, not inside my web.php, it should be in my .env. Let's copy that and create a database. So let's open up and create here active_deactive. I created that, and now I need to do is to look for my web.php, and I don't need that, so remove that, and let's define a route get, and the get request should be / the main home page. We already defined a controller with the name of user controller and the name of the method, which should be index, right? So now I need to migrate the table. So PHP artisan migrate. So migrated, so migration is run successfully, and now I need to run the seeder. So in order to run this header, you only need to do php artisan db :seed, and let's see if it's no, it doesn't show any error, which is a good thing, right? So now I have to run a server with simply php artisan ser, right? So test this out. So I go to my active deactive inside my users, and you can see now we have a 30 records of table, right? So we can have a data now. Now I need to show this data on my main home page, and just refresh this and see. So it's gonna show up something, but see, let's go to my user controller. Let's close everything from here, which we don't need now. So I don't need any user factory now, no more, and I don't need any style.css, at least for now. And let's go inside your master.file, and we have yield the content, right? And now inside my users.blade.php, we extend the master, right, which is fine. We end the section, we define everything absolutely perfect, and yeah, we haven't returned any views, so let's return the view. So return view, and the name of the view in my case should be, which I have changed, I believe, which is users. Yeah, you can see right here, users.blade, right? Just saves it, and now if I just try to refresh this, and this is going to show me a table. Like, so we have a name, we have an email, we have an action, but our button is still not really working the way we need it. So let's open up the console, and so it says style.css is not found. Why it's not found? Let's check this out. So if I go here inside my public assets, yeah, this should have the folder. So I'm gonna cut everything from here. So I have to create here another folder with the name of CSS. So where I should go? So where I should go here, public, where the hell goes it? So public assets. So I'm gonna create a folder with the name of CSS. Let's create a file with the name of style.css, and now bring this thing inside here, right? So now we have our correct path, and now if I refresh this, so our CSS is now enabled. And we need to figure it out why this button is not showing up well. Yeah, although it's yeah, it's fine, but that's what actually check this out. It should looks like this for no reason. So let's move inside your master.blade.php. So I defined here the Bootstrap 4, right? And after that, I'm going to define here the Bootstrap -toggle, and which is fine. And I defined the jQuery, and I defined the JavaScript. Okay, so let's do one more stuff. Just for the confirmation, I need to copy this JavaScript for the Bootstrap. So let's put that after the toggle. So let's give it here. And now if I just refresh this, it should be there. Okay, so if I just take this to, all right, so let's check this later on. And if I just grab something else, let's grab this simple button and paste it inside my users.blade, and check this out. Okay, so it's fine, right? I believe that it might be so I'm gonna put the same one, right, which I have already. So scripts which are coming from the master, which is fine. And now if I just refresh this and go to the control U, And you can see now we have our scripts also included, right? So that's how we can work with that. Now I want to loop my data here inside the table. So let's go here inside your home user controller, and I'm going to define here the variable users equal to user, and let's gonna use here paginated, and I want to show 5 users in a single page on single table, and we have a buttons down, so we can easily do it with the buttons. We can navigate to the other record. So let's define here compact, and let's put this users and get this inside your users.blade.php. So inside my table body, I'm going to define here dollar users as dollar key. So all right, so let's define here the ID. So dollar key ID. Let's pass up here the name, which I should bring from the let's paste it here, and let's define here ID, and let's define here the name and the email. All right, so let's refresh this and see. Okay, so we have our 5 records, but I need to display some of the buttons to navigate it. So right after your where you have your table, you need to define here the dollar users link. So basically this is all the data which is coming from the loop, and just define a function with that, with the name of links. And now if I just try to refresh this, and you could see now it's working fine, right? So that's all awesome. You could see now we can navigate from one page to the another. Okay, so if I want to grab the links, okay, that's fine. And now I need to go to my users.blade.php. I need to do one more stuff here. So I'm going to copy it from my previous code. Let's define here input type of checkbox. I give it the class of toggle-class. So whenever you need to grab the ID from the input field, you need to define a data-id. So that's how we can individually get the ID. So I define here an attribute which is the data-id. So data-toggle, which is basically the button which it can change from enable to disable. So I define another property which is data-slow, and data-on means that it's enable, and data-off, it means that it's disabled, right? So that's fine. And I need to add a styling as well. I did a very basic styling for that. So just want to grab what I did here is inside my style.css, I'm going to define here the class for the slow and the toggle-group. So I gave it the transition and the WebKit transition, so it could show some better effect. So if you can see, once I just try to navigate from one page to the another, so this is gonna have some of the you could say that this could have some transition, taking some times or seconds to move from one page, from left to the right. So there you see that it's 0.7 seconds. Okay, so let's do here. We have the data. We have our button or switch for that, and now we have to write here jQuery. So just down after the script, I'm gonna define another script here. So let's define here toggle. So toggle-class, which I have defined, and on change I need. So I define here an on change. So let's define a function here. So as soon as I click on the button, so it will change it, and I need to change the status. So let's define here $this.prop, And the reason why I'm defining here prop, so prop is actually is a selector which will select the attribute or the values, right? The most recent values from the of the tags. So here I'm going to define a prop. So we have a value which we need to get, which is a checked. So I'm going to define a CHE, and this is coming from the if you see that I define here, if the key of the status is true, that means it's checked, and on the other case it means that it should have no value, right? So that's why I've defined if the variable of the it's checked and if it's equal to true, so said that it should have a value of 1, otherwise it should be 0, right? And I also need to grab the user ID, so user underscore ID equal to dollar this dot data ID. So let's first test this out if it's working. So I'm going to define here alert for my status, and for the user ID I'm going to define here alert all right. So let's see, refresh this, and if I just try to click on here, it says 1 and it's an ID for the 1, right? And now if I just try to click on the second interval, this is going to give it the state of 0. That's working fine. Now it has the ID of 5. Just test this out. Now it should give me return me a status of 1 and the ID of 5, right? So we are working with that. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do here after that, we need to write here an Ajax request. So let's define here $.Ajax. So inside $.Ajax we have a type request of get. So we have a type of get and the data type, which is JSON. So data type is JSON. What's wrong with that? So data type of JSON, I need to define the data, and the data that we want to pass to the controller is the status. And next we need to pass the user ID, which needs to be active or deactive. So if we pass the ID, which is coming from that variable, and that's fine for the data. And after that we need to write the success function. So let's pass up here success function and define the data here, and on base of that we can test that. We can easily test if it's working, if we have a response successful, right? So now we need to also pass the URL, which I miss here. So let's pass up here URL. So for the URL we need to define here. So I'm gonna grab the URL which I need to make our name route. So let's copy it and paste it inside my web.php code. So I have a request of route of get request. We have a change status, and I give it the name route of change status, right? So define that inside here. So let's copy it there, the URL, and define here route. So I define my URL with the data, and now we need to go inside the controller which I just created. So let's define here the method name inside the user controller. So just after that, let's define, not here, so public function change status. So here I'm going to write here a code. So let's pass here the request. So inside that I need a user, and on base of the request of the user ID, so let's define here request of user ID. I need to change the status, so define here user dash status equal to request of the status, and saves that status whatever we get the value. So like it's toggle that. Save it, and I need to return the response. So in case if the successful response, it set that to be status change successfully, right? Okay, so we are good to go. And now inside my users.blade.php, I need to define here some notification div that we just created inside our style.css. So I need to do stuff for this, right? So let's do here is let's define a notification here. So hash and grab this notification div ID, and I need to use here a jQuery method of fade in. And now just after that, I need to do the background. So do the background. Once the status change, just show the background of green color and define that selector. All right, so just same like I need to give the text, define the text whenever we change the status. So let's give it this status updated successfully, and I need to set timeout function to so that it will vanish once we have our after 3 seconds this function should hide, right? So let's define here the dollar, define the selector, which is notification div, and pass here fade. Right, so I believe that's it, right? So let's remove these alerts. We have already tested. Okay, now I need to run and test. So I refresh this, and if I just try to define here enabled and refresh this, so this is not gonna work. So it says some error right after the user underscore ID. So go to your users.blade.php and see. So status of status and the user ID, and this should be colon. All right, saves it, and now run and test. Okay, now if I just click enable, but I don't see any notification, right? So what should be, why it should not show the response? So so I give it the type of request get, data type of JSON, it passed the URL, let's define the data, and after the data we have our notification div. So on successful response, okay, so first test this out if it's working. So we have no error so far, and if I refresh it again, yeah, now I get some error. Right, it says column unknown column status in field list. So if I go up inside my structure, and you see that we haven't defined any status here. So let's go first inside your status. So create users table, and actually I did one thing, I missed something here. So go to the create users table, and right after password define the status, and now close that and roll back all the data. So PHP artisan migrate rollback, and now you can migrate it, or you can simply run here PHP artisan migrate, and now PHP artisan db : seed. All right, now check this out. If we have a status, yeah, we have a status. By default, the status should be 0. And now if I go back to my active deactive status and see, yeah, I need to run the server again. So php artisan serve and check this out. Okay, so now if I just try to disable and if I refresh this, and it's keep me to the enable. Now if I just want to refresh and you see the status change and status updated successfully, and we can also define here some, because you see the message quickly disappeared, you can also define inside timeout, you can define the inside the fade out, or yeah, right after here you can define after 3 seconds it should disappear, right? So refresh that, and now if I just try to disable, enable, and you could see after 3 seconds the message appears. And if I go to the second one and refresh this, so it's gonna remain the same, right? So refresh that and it's working, right? Now if I want to check the database, you see only the status which we have, change it, it's gonna show the status of 1, right? So that's really much it, guys. I think so you really enjoy this, and if you really love this video, you can please leave a like and subscribe, and I want to see you in the next part.